Now, how likely is World War III? That's a question that isn't just for late night radio shows anymore. It's been asked in the halls of power by military strategists and living rooms just like yours. With global tensions at a frightening boiling point, the threat of a major global conflict feels more real than it has in decades. I mean, just look at the doomsday clock. It is slowly getting closer and closer and closer. Recent polling shows that public anxiety is high. One YouGov survey found that between 41 and 55% of people in several Western European countries believe another world war is likely in the next 5 to 10 years. I think it might be a little bit sooner, guys. Hope not, but there you go. In the US, 45% of all Americans feel the same way. This isn't panic, it's a response to a world that feels more and more unstable. But what to do if the worst actually happens? Is your home, your family, truly ready for that scenario? This is not a drill, and this video is not meant to scare you guys, okay? It's meant to prepare you. We're going to cut through all the noise. We're going to give you a rational, clear-eyed look at the real probability of conflict based on what the experts are saying. And then, most importantly, we're going to get into the essential practical skills that you need to protect your family if it happens. The goal here is resilience, not fear. So first of all then, guys, the problem. A world on the brink. So let's just address the elephant in the room. How serious is this? Now, predicting the future is impossible. Some people have said they can do it, but they can't. And any specific percentage is just speculation. Now, we can look at the facts on the ground and listen to the warnings from the people in the know. And right now, many analysts agree the risk of a major global conflict is higher than at any point since the Cold War. Now, this, guys, it's not happening in a vacuum. We're seeing multiple crises converging, creating the perfect storm for inevitability and instability. First, you have the geographical hotspots, the flashpoints that could ignite a wider war. The ongoing war in Ukraine has already created a tense standoff, with Russia's actions prompting serious warnings from NATO. In fact, intelligence services in Europe have warned that Russia could be ready to challenge NATO in just a few years. And top NATO officials and military leaders have openly discussed the real risks of a wider war. At the same time, tensions are critically high in the Asia Pacific. China's aggressive posture towards Taiwan remains one of the most dangerous triggers for a direct confrontation with the United States and its allies. That's us. Military leaders have voiced concern over a nightmare scenario where Russia and China launch coordinated attacks in Europe and the Pacific, plunging the world into a multi-frontal war. And it does not stop there. The Middle East is still a powder keg. It's got conflicts that threaten to pull in regional and global powers. You have historic rivalries between nuclear-armed states like India and Pakistan, and the continued unpredictability of North Korea. Now, when you layer these traditional conflicts with modern threats like cyber attacks, economic warfare and intense competition for resources, you get a global system under enormous strain. It was only the other day that a third of the internet in the UK went down. A third. I mean, guys, come on, what are people preparing for here? Now, public anxiety reflects this reality, as Britain's Defence Secretary has said we are living in a pre-World War. And when people think about a potential world war, they also think about nuclear weapons. Polls show that a large majority of people in Western countries, between 68 and 76%, believe that a new world war would likely involve their use. The goal isn't to be paranoid, it is to be prudent. Acknowledging the risks is the first step towards preparing for it. Now, if they were to drop nuclear bombs on the UK, I live 11 miles from Birmingham city centre. They drop a nuke on Birmingham right behind me that way, I'm buggered. So are most of you. If that happens, I just hope I'm at work and it's on my head, but there you go. Now, before we get into the 5 pillars of survival that you need to master, if you're getting value from this rational, no-nonsense approach, make sure that you hit the subscribe button below. We're building a community here, and it's going to be dedicated to resilience, not fear. Your subscription helps me keep putting out this critical information. Moving on then, guys, the solution, a survivalist guide. So with this heightened risk, what can you actually do to protect your family? Feeling helpless is a choice, preparation is an action. We're going to break this down into 5 pillars of survival. Yeah, 5. This is your practical, actionable framework for protecting your family. So, pillar number 1. Surviving the unthinkable, the nuclear threat. Let's start with the most devastating possibility, because it's the one that needs the most specific planning. As we just saw, there is a high level of public concern that nuclear wars could be part of a future world war. Surviving that initial blast and fallout that follows is a science. So first of all, guys, you need shelter. You need to remember 3 things. Get inside, stay tuned. The best shelter is underground, a basement or cellar. Not that many houses in the UK have them, but if you've got them, might be a good shout. The more earth and concrete between you and the radioactive particles outside, the better. If you don't have a basement, find an interior room with no windows, which again, in the UK, with all of our 2 up, 2 down houses, that's a pretty hard task. Now, ideally, a middle floor of a tall building would be a good choice, and you need to maximise the distance and density of materials shielding you from that fallout. Second, your nuclear survival kit. Okay, this is not your standard bug out bag. It has to include potassium iodine tablet, which can help block thyroid from absorbing radioactive iodine. But if you've got an underactive or overactive thyroid, guys, you need to be careful. It should also have high quality N95 or P100 mask to help keep you from inhaling radioactive particles, and a reliable water filter that can remove contaminants. Simple radiation detector or dosimeter could also be invaluable for knowing when it's safe to come out. But let's face it, who's got one of those lying around the front room? And finally, what do you do after an attack? You must shelter in place for at least, and I mean at least 72 hours, but probably longer, until fallout levels drop. Now that means having a plan for sanitation in your shelter and enough supplies to last. Don't underestimate the need for good sanitation. Now, decontamination is also critical if you're cut outside, so please plan for that too. So that would mean removing the outer layers of your clothing, sealing them in a plastic bag, sealing that in a plastic bag, and probably again in a plastic bag with some cable ties would be helpful, and washing your body thoroughly. Now, number two, the long game, the nuclear famine. Surviving the first 72 hours is just the start. The long-term threat for most of the world wouldn't be the blast, but the nuclear winter that follows, and the global famine that would almost certainly follow as well. Now, the science on this event is terrifyingly clear. Even a limited regional nuclear exchange could throw enough soot into the atmosphere to block sunlight, cooling the planet and causing worldwide crop failures. One peer-reviewed study projected that a war using 100 weapons could cause a nuclear famine that starves up to 2 billion people. A full-scale war between major powers could kill up to 5 billion just from starvation alone. This makes food and water the absolute cornerstone of your long-term plan, and you also need to know how to protect it. You need to think in months and ideally years. Stockpile non-perishable foods that are high in calories and last a long time. White rice, dry beans, pasta, oats, canned goods. Learn how to preserve food through canning, drying and pickling. And don't forget books. Books on survival subjects are going to be very important, especially if there are things that you've not practiced a lot. Now, water is even more critical. You need to store at least 1 gallon of water per person per day. A large water barrel is a good start, but you also need a renewable solution, and that means having robust multi-stage water filters and knowing where nearby water sources are that you can get to, because without those robust multi-stage water filters, you're not going to be able to clean those nuclear particles out of that water and make it safe for consumption. Pillar number 3, health and medical readiness. Now, in a post-conflict world, you can't count on hospitals, doctors or even pharmacies. They'll be overwhelmed or gone. You have to become your family's first responder. Pharmacies are going to get hit by the tweakers within hours, I guarantee it. Now, your medical kit needs to go way beyond bandages and antiseptic wipes. You need trauma supplies, tourniquets, chest seals and pressure dressings. You need a supply of essential prescription medications for anyone in your family. It is also smart, though it can be difficult, to try and get broad spectrum antibiotics for treating infections, especially in the UK where you can only get things on a prescription base. This all sounds scary. I know that. You need this, you need that. This is worst case scenario though, guys. This is if World War III breaks out. Now, supplies though, they're not enough. You need to know how to use them. You need skills. Take an advanced first aid or wilderness first aid course. Learn how to set a broken bone, stitch a wound and recognise the signs of infection and radiation sickness. A well-stocked kit is useless if you don't know how to use it. Number 4 then, guys, we have security and community. When the system we rely on breaks down, human desperation can become the biggest threat. Personal security becomes paramount. It's a sensitive subject, but we have to talk about it. You need to be able to protect your supplies and your family. Think of your home as a stronghold. You haven't bugged out, you have bugged in. Reinforce doors and windows. Have a home defence plan that everyone in your family understands. 2 adults and 2 children under 10. You're going to struggle to protect your house 24 hours. What happens if someone breaks in when you're asleep? You need to think, you need to plan. Maybe you and your neighbours or your brother that lives down the street, you all need to move into one house and centralise everything so that you can share responsibility. Now, security is not just about weapons and walls. Long-term survival is nearly impossible alone. You need to build your network now. If your brother don't live down the street, go to your neighbours. Form a mutual assistance group with reliable, like-minded people who you can count on. And these guys, this is critical. These have to be people you can trust, people that they're not going to turn their back on you, that are not going to shoot you because they know you've got a basement full of food. Now, you need to think about who's got medical skills, who knows how to garden, who can fix things. A small group of prepared families working together will be far more resilient than any one person trying to go it alone. Family is important. Pillar number 5 then, guys, is information and communication. When a crisis hits, knowing what's going on can literally save your life. But the internet, cell phones, TV are going to be among the first casualties. So staying informed will mean going back to older technologies. Every preparedness kit needs a hand crank radio or solar powered emergency radio. This will let you pick up on any emergency broadcast that may still be transmitted. Communicating with your group will also be vital. A set of reliable long range walkie talkies or even ham radios, if you have the license and skill, yes, you have to be licensed, can be a lifeline for coordinating with the community when nothing else works. Knowledge is power, and in a world without Google, a physical library of books of survival, homesteading, herbal medicines and basic engineering are going to be worth more than their weight in gold. So in conclusion then, guys, the world is a walking tightrope. Tensions are real and the warnings from military and political leaders are getting louder. It's not all hearsay. Now, while some experts believe diplomacy will prevent the worst, all the sanctions that are being thrown around, this, that and the other, others see a world stumbling towards a major conflict. So the point of this guide wasn't to put a date on the calendar, it wasn't to make you go panic buying like that along those sorts. It was to shift your mindset from passive worrying to active preparation. We have looked at the geographical realities fueling this uncertainty, and I've laid out 5 clear pillars for building personal resilience, preparing for the nuclear reality, securing long-term food and water, becoming medically self-reliant, building security through community, and maintaining access to information. The future is uncertain, but your response doesn't have to be. Taking these steps can give you a powerful sense of control in a world that feels more and more chaotic. The goal is not to live in fear, but to build a foundation of preparedness so that you and your family can be resilient. No matter what the future holds, be prepared, not scared. Now, if any of you have your own preparedness tips or questions, share them in the comments below. I'd like to build a community of knowledge and help each other get stronger. And for more practical no nonsense guides to help you navigate these uncertain times, make sure that you subscribe to my channel below. Right, so that about wraps this video up then, guys. So please like, share, subscribe, hit that bell button and you'll know when I put out a new video. But most importantly, guys, stay safe.